let us start right from the first slide. And this chapter, accounting concepts, conventions, principles, some assumptions are also there. So we will be going through all these one by one. Okay, let us see what this chapter is all about. Accounting concepts are the fundamentals, assumptions, and propositions within which the accounting operates. Okay, we need to have some rules, we need to have some principles for the accounting purpose, okay, for the record purpose. And they are generally accepted accounting rules on the basis of which the financial transactions are recorded in the books of accounts and financial statements are prepared. These are the accounting rules, generally accepted accounting rules. Everywhere these rules are accepted throughout the world, and that is why some uniformity is maintained in the books of accounts. Whether I'm teaching accounts in sitting in Gandhinagar over here, right, and if like you are learning the same account, suppose from Delhi or Mumbai, the same thing will be taught to you. The same debit and credit will be there. Okay, the reason is because that uniformity is maintained by following these principles. These accounting concepts or assumptions, okay, must be followed as they provide the foundation for the accounting process. Whatever the accounting process is there, it starts from the identification, then recording. The most important step, the recording के लिए base कुछ तो चाहिए. On what basis we are going to record? Why are we giving two effects? Why is this one debit and credit? Okay, why are we writing why are we following one accounting year? So many things are there to be learned. So every question of why, I'm sure will be answered over here. The fundamental accounting assumptions, in all, we are going to learn 14. 3 are assumptions and 11 are principles. So total in all, we have 14 such assumptions and principles to be learned in this chapter. We have 3 assumptions. The first one is going concern assumption, second consistency assumption, and third is accrual assumption, right? These 3 are assumptions. We need to assume about the first one, the going concern assumption. Okay, let us see what is it all about. Any idea about this term like going concern? What do we need to assume over here? Okay, the concern over here is nothing but the business entity. Okay, business entity is going to continue its operations for a long period of time. We need to assume this. Assume karna padega. Okay, what if this assumption is not followed? We will go through the slides, right? So the basic thing is the concept of going concern assumes that the business will continue its operations for a long period of time, okay, and will not be sold or liquidated in the near future, right? We need to assume that whichever the companies are there, okay, companies so chalo theek hai ki wo separate legal entities hain, so they are going to continue its operations. They are not getting affected by the incoming and outgoing of the members. That's absolutely fine. But when it comes to a sole proprietorship firm, a sole proprietor where a single owner is there, अगर अचानक से भगवान को याद आया भाई आ जाओ चलो मीटिंग है मेरे साथ आ जाओ ऊपर, तो if that sole proprietor goes for a meeting, okay, तो फिर क्या, तो उसके पीछे बिजनेस कौन संभालेगा? So as such we are not sure about the next moment even, okay, but the point is in business we need to assume that our business concern, the business entity, is going to continue its operations for a long period of time. It is not going to be sold, it is not going to be liquidated in the near future. This is what we need to assume. What happens because of these assumptions? What happens if we don't assume this? Let us see that. Because we are going to assume that the business is going to continue its operations, so this is also better known as assumption of continuity. This is again a 1-marker question. On the basis of this concept now, what happens? The fixed assets are recorded at their cost price less estimated depreciation based on the useful life of the asset. A machine is purchased for ₹50,000 having estimated life span of 5 years. Now, if I'm assuming that I'm going to continue my operations for a long period of time, my business entity operations, right? So this is possible for me to spread the cost of the asset 50,000 over its useful life. जैसे If you remember something about the deferred revenue expenditure, advertisement campaign, वही same example यहाँ पर है. 50,000 is the cost that I have paid, the amount that I have paid to acquire the asset. But I just assume that I'll be using this machine for 5 years. So what happens because I assume this? So after the expiry of 1 year, at the end of first year, I just assume that the benefit has been derived in the first year and the use of it of rupees 10,000 has to be written off. How do you get this 10,000? The total cost divided by the estimated life, right? So this 10,000, I'll just assume that the benefit has been received. So I should write off this amount in my profit and loss account, right? So this 10,000 depreciation will be charged as a revenue expenditure. And we know like which of the revenue expenditures are there. They will be finding a place in profit and loss account debit side. And the remaining balance of machinery of rupees 40,000. Remaining kaise aaya? 50 minus 10. The remaining balance of 40,000 will be shown in balance sheet, okay, as the unexpired cost of the machine. Machine is still there with us. We have assumed that we are going to use for 4 more years. The benefit is yet to be received. So this amount of 40,000 will be shown as an asset. So when we just have this assumption, we are able to spread the cost of the asset. We are allowed to charge the depreciation and just show the amount of depreciation as a revenue expenditure, and the remaining amount is shown in the balance sheet for the unexpired amount. If this assumption of continuity is not there, okay, अगर ये assumption नहीं है, अगर हम ये assume नहीं करते हैं, तो क्या होता है? तो in that case, the whole cost of machine of rupees 50,000 would have been charged in the year of its purchase. अब आप लोग सोचो कि which is the best situation for you? The first situation is where we assume. So in profit and loss account, we simply write 10,000 every year. हर साल 10,000 खर्चा show करते हैं as depreciation on the asset. And in the second case, like if we don't assume this assumption of continuity, in that case, I will have to charge 50,000 in the year of its purchase. एक साल पूरा खर्चा दिखा दिया, फिर बाकी years में like कुछ नहीं करना, but still the asset is there with us. So just think of charging 10,000 as an expenditure or charging 50,000 as an expenditure, which is a better situation for you in the initial years. So it is always the first one, wherein like we have this assumption, the total cost of the asset is spread over the useful life, right? Fixed assets are shown at a cost price, and without taking reference to their market price. We are well aware of this because cost price is verifiable, and for market price there is no such evidence, right? Market price is irrelevant as it has not been purchased for the selling purpose. Also, we have purchased these assets for the operation purpose, so assumption of continuity allows a business to charge a part of the asset which has been consumed in the period of the period during the operation, right? Second is consistency assumption. Consistency assumption जब भी आता है तो I recall Mr. Consistent, that is Trevitt. अब Mr. Consistent क्यों कहा जाता था? Because it was for sure like whenever he'll be on the crease in the cricket test matches and all, तो it was for sure कि runs ज़्यादा बने ना बने, but ये बंदा wicket तो नहीं फेंकने वाला. Okay, that was a point. And runs भी बनाते थे राहुल द्रविड़, right? तो he was really a very good cricketer. And the wall करके भी इसको बोला जाता है राहुल द्रविड़ को, right? The wall. हाँ, the wall भी इसीलिए बोलते थे कि like out करना बहुत मुश्किल था because बॉलर्स को थकाने का काम राहुल द्रविड़ करते थे and runs स्कोर करने का काम फिर सचिन तेंदुलकर मैनेज कर लेते थे. ऐसा होता था. Okay, so consistency assumption भी कुछ ऐसा ही है कि like it talks about कि a business entity needs to be consistent with the accounting policies that are used, the various methods that are used for the valuation of stock, for the method of charging depreciation. Okay, whichever method you adopt, okay, for 1 year, please ensure that you continue the same for years to come, for some years at least. Okay, that is what is consistency assumption. Let us see this. Financial statements are used by various users for making the inter-period, that is intra-firm and inter-firm comparison. We know this. I'm sure like you remember something about the qualitative characteristic in chapter 1, comparability. At that time also I had the same words. Okay, I have used the same words. If you want your books of accounts, the financial statements to be in a comparable form, whenever the comparison word will come in accountancy, it will always talk about the inter-firm and the intra-firm comparison. So if you want to have that, you need to ensure that the accounting policies, the practices followed by the firms are uniform, and these are followed consistently over a period of time. The comparison will be feasible only when these things are followed. The accounting policies, the practices that are followed by the firm are uniform. Okay, that means year to year you keep on following the same policy, the same method. Then only the financial statements prepared by the business entity are useful for comparison purpose, whether it is inter-firm comparison or intra-firm comparison. Now, which accounting policies, which accounting practices we are talking about? Let us see that. Okay, let us understand with the example. There are different methods of charging depreciation. When you talk about depreciation, though we have a separate chapter, I have told you this thing earlier also. We have two methods basically for charging depreciation. One is straight line method and second is reducing balance method. Okay, so what is to be done? Similarly, there are several methods of valuation of closing stock. We have, like you learn this in college basically, you have FIFO method, FIFO, okay, you have LIFO method, LIFO, you have weighted average method. Okay, you have various methods for valuation of closing stock also. So various methods for charging depreciation, various methods for valuation of closing stock. Now the point is, the change of methods significantly affect the profitability of the enterprise, right? If you keep on changing the method from one method to another, year 1 straight line method, year 2 reducing balance method, year 3 again getting it back to straight line method. So if you just keep on doing that, the change in the method will significantly affect the profitability of the enterprise. So the financial statements will not be useful for making the inter-period and the intra-firm comparison. Okay, here is what is the important point of the concept. Okay, we need to be consistent. Why? Consistent with a particular policy. The policy that I have followed for charging depreciation, a method, right, which a practice I have been following. So please be consistent. If we are not, it will be having a significant effect on the profitability position of the company or the business enterprise, and the books of accounts will not be in a comparable form. Okay. Yes, students do ask me, sir, इसका मतलब ये कि हम लोग change कर ही नहीं सकते हैं? No. This concept, or it does not mean that the assumption of consistency does not allow a firm to change the accounting policy. You can change if you feel like the change is for the benefit of the organization. You can definitely do that. If the management feels that the change in the method will lead to a better disclosure of the financial performance, yes, it is free to adopt a change. But one has to take care, it is not very often. Okay. However, whatever the change do take place, the necessary change of the method along with the justification of the change. One is you are changing the method, it's fine. But why are you changing the method, and its effect on the profitability has to be mentioned in the books of accounts, in the financial statements as a footnote. Why so? So that whosoever the users of the accounting information are there, they are noticing the change, they are observing the change, they do go through all the things mentioned in the financial statements. We have example over here. As I was telling you, straight line method, reducing balance method, two methods are there for charging depreciation. These are the different names. Original cost method, equal installment method, or fixed installment method is another name for straight line method. We just assume that the rate of depreciation to be charged is 10% per annum. As per straight line method, what happens? It is also better known as original cost method. So we just need to keep on charging depreciation, charge depreciation on the original cost. 10% of 1 lakh, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000 every year. The amount of depreciation remains same. That's why it is also better known as equal installment method or fixed installment method. This is straight line method. Now, when you come to reducing balance method, okay, we can see that the cost is 1 lakh. Rate of depreciation over here also 10%. But we are talking about reducing balance. So in the first year, you charge 10%, 10,000 depreciation deducted, balance is 90,000. And on that 90,000 now, you need to charge 10% to get the depreciation for the current year. So 90,000 ka 10% will be 9,000. The 9,000 is the depreciation for the second year. Balance is 81. Third year, 81,000 ka 10% will be 8,100, and so on. The process goes on. So this is what is the basic difference between the straight line and the reducing balance method. Now the point is, you can see over here for 3 years, the amount of depreciation charged is 30,000. Yes, I want someone to please get me the total of these three values: 10, 9 and 81. Yes, anybody?
27,100.
Very good. 27,100. Now just see the change. Under straight line method, the amount of depreciation charged is more, 30,000. Whereas under reducing balance method, the amount of depreciation charged is less. So if I just keep on changing the method, it will be affecting the profitability. Okay, जिस साल straight line method है, depreciation ज़्यादा charge किया, उस साल का profit कम हो गया, right? In the next year, I shift the charging method of charging depreciation to straight line method, reducing balance method. So इससे क्या होगा? Depreciation कम charge होगा और profit ज़्यादा होगा. तो do I need to be happy with the result? Last year profit कम था, इस साल profit ज़्यादा हो गया. भाई हमने मेहनत नहीं करी, कोई sale increase नहीं हुआ हमारा. Because of the change in the method, the profit is shown more, right? So that is why it is generally believed that whatever the accounting practice or the accounting policy that you follow should be followed for some years consistently, so that you can have the comparison properly. Either it is inter-firm comparison or intra-firm comparison, right? Change in method will affect significantly on the profitability position, so one has to take care, correct? And yes, even after some years, when you have a change in the method, please make a note in the financial statements that is required. Okay, so I'm done with this consistency assumption. We are going to start with accrual assumption. As I was just telling you, like accrual assumption, related to accrual assumptions, we will have two more concepts. Okay, one is matching concept and other is revenue recognition concept. Accrual simply means that the amount which is yet to be paid or yet to be received, the accrued. Okay, so in accountancy, like we are going to deal with such terms again and again. Due and accrued and due, accrued but not due, like it is the amount that is yet to be paid or received. So we just assume that, like in the books of accounts, this assumption has to be there. Whenever you want to have a record of the business transaction, so how are the transactions to be recorded? When are the transactions to be recorded? Let us learn that. As per accrual assumption, the revenues, right, and the expenses are recognized. We have one more assumption concept, that is revenue recognition concept. At that time, again, we are going to have the same thing. But at that time, like we will have just revenue with us. Revenues and expenses are recognized in the period of their occurrence rather than when they are received or paid. Correct? It is not necessary that like business entities may believe that whenever the actual amount of cash is received or paid, then only we are going to record in the books of accounts. No. That is another basis of accounting, basically, that is cash basis of accounting. We are going to learn that in chapter number 4. But over here, we are talking about the accrual assumption. So simply says that we need to have the record whenever we are going to recognize the revenues and the expenses when the event or the transaction has took place, not when the actual cash is received or paid. So the revenue, that means the incomes are recorded when sales are made or services are rendered. The time when I'm rendering my services, that time like when the goods are sold to the customer, that is a time when I say the revenue has been recognized and has to be recorded in the books of accounts. I will not wait for the day to come when the amount is received in cash from the customer, either for the sale of goods or for rendering the services. Okay, so revenue is recorded when sales is made or services are rendered, not when the cash is received. Similarly, for expenses are recorded in the accounting year in which they have occurred, even though cash is paid in the next accounting period. The same thing, correct? So, to arrive at the correct profit or loss during an accounting period, all expenses and all incomes to be recorded on accrual basis and not on cash basis. As I told you, we are going to learn something about the basis of accounting in the next chapter. These two topics are there, cash basis and accrual basis. So every business entity, okay, whosoever is following this double entry system basically, will be maintaining the record of the transactions on accrual basis, not on cash basis. And accrual concept is a part of matching concept. As I was telling you, like related to accrual, the same things, the same words we are going to go through again in the matching concept as well as revenue recognition concept, right? So that's all for this assumption.